welcome. I am Jonnita Stanton. We have Reginald Perryman, Kashka Williams, and we are TSARE. This is the There's Something About Real Estate podcast where we talk all things real estate. And tonight we have returning our special guest, Chandra Graves.
Whoop, whoop.
You said Perryman with a P, like with some power behind
Right.
it.
Power.
Perryman.
Coach, they call you Coach Graves.
Coach
Coach
Graves.
Graves.
Coach Graves.
Asian
Yes.
Graves to Coach
Asian
Graves.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, I guess tonight we're gonna challenge ourselves. This is gonna be like speed HUD conversation. Housing and urban development. When do you ever hear it called that?
Yeah.
Don't nobody call
Right,
it that.
right.
When
It's
you
like, what
first
is
start.
that again? I don't...
When you first start,
Housing and urban development.
when you're studying for the test.
Right.
Right.
That's when you have to know it.
That's HUD. So we're gonna talk a little bit about HUD. And I guess for me, I'd like to start off. Does anybody know what HUD is and what they're about, what they do?
Yeah, go ahead. You brought it up.
Me?
No, I'm just playing. you over there acting like Ben Carson.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean, I
in
know.
HUD. I
I'm
don't
pretty
know
a
what they
little,
do.
it's put in place. I think it came about around 1965-ish for
Yep.
low income people so that they can, have housing and opportunities,
Right.
to own land and property.
So it covers a few things. It's the urban development,
Yeah.
so they're true to that. But they have different programs, whether it's for landlord tenants, for home purchases. But what we mostly know HUD for in our field is for the FHA program. So that's
A
administered
very
through HUD.
wide blanket of
Right,
Yeah.
things that they, help with.
right.
Yeah.
But mostly it's dealing with housing and making sure people have fair access to housing,
Yes.
pretty much.
Right. So when I
This is-
came in, what I know HUD as, because I came in as an investor first.
Right,
And I know it from buying HUD houses.
right,
Right, exactly. That's what, yeah.
right.
So
Yeah, as an
Can I
investor,
say
that's
something though? Because in a lot of times in our community, people be like, "Oh, I seen this house is vacant." People assume that every
HUD
foreclosure or
Yes.
every vacant house is a
HUD
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 house.
home. Yeah.
So that's
exactly.
not quite what it is.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is the inventory for HUD homes has fallen quite.
Yes,
Yeah.
drastically.
Tremendously.
Yes, absolutely.
Because there's no need in a market like this. When the market's strong, there's no need for people to foreclose in most cases.
Correct.
Correct. So, all right, we talked about why it exists. Who does HUD help in the community?
Pretty much, mostly so it's to kind of give some balance to the people that are not as privileged. So you have your housing vouchers, you have things of that nature. We talked about the FHA financing, so people can come in with a lower down payment. But really, that's who it's for, to offer assistance to people that probably otherwise wouldn't have access to housing.
Yeah, but then they offer some pretty nice incentives
Right.
for some of, outside of just, your typical low income person being able to come in and have like lower down payments and things like that, but also like the
Right.
Good Neighbor Next Door,
Yep.
the dollar programs,
Right.
the nonprofit,
Right.
So I guess my question would be, if I wanted to buy a HUD house, how would I go about doing this? Like what's the typical protocol?
So what? So HUD has a couple things. So the standard HUD home usually comes on the market. Owner occupant can bid on it. They always give priority to the owner occupants first, right? And then they have, after a period of time, then they allow investors or any buyer to buy that property. But if they get two identical offers, one is from an owner occupant versus an investor, they're going to go with the owner occupant.
Right.
always.
Then they had a Good Neighbor Next Door program, which is for your teachers, firefighters, EMT techs,
Yep.
and
Police.
police officers, right? The thing is, if you buy in that program, you have to buy in the community that you work. But you get a 50% discount on any home. So they have homes designated for that program. And then they had a government entity and the nonprofit programs too. So that's where like a city, for example, a city can buy the HUD home for $1 or a nonprofit, but the nonprofit has to be registered.
Right.
everybody be like, oh, I
Yeah.
got a nonprofit.
Right,
I'm going
right.
to buy this HUD home. Nah, you have
Gotta
to
have
be
that
registered
paperwork in
with HUD.
place first before
Right.
you can get those incentives.
Yeah. And a lot of those homes, before any HUD homes come on the general market, they usually go through one of those programs first, and then it's offered to the general public.
So is there like a time frame, like an amount of time that, is typically standard? So it comes available and then you have certain
I
people
believe it's still
14
15 days.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
15.
15 days. Yeah.
All right. What was I thinking? We got it's something else. Oh, they're penalties
Mhm.
for
Penalties for
telling
what?
lies.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh.
So,
Don't know anything about them.
So I go and I'm like, man, this house is amazing. But
right.
I'm an investor
Right.
and I don't really want to live in it. But
Right.
I'm going to fill out the form as if I'm an owner occupant.
Right. So we giving people the real short version of everything?
Yeah.
All right. Because I'm like, all right, so here's the thing. I want to put a disclaimer out there. There's a lot more to HUD than what we're explaining,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we're trying to just condense this down into a time frame that makes sense. So I don't want people to think, oh, they don't know what HUD is and this and that. Because we still laugh at Ben Carson for thinking REO and Oreo was the same thing. So,
Man.
but the owner occupant time period, investors can't bid on the property during that time period. But a lot of investors say, well, I'm just going to bid on it anyway and take my chances. But the fine is like $250,000. And I think the prison time is like 10 years or something. I have to go back and look at it. I don't.
Reds know the
Yeah,
real
I'm trying
red
to-
tape.
Good. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I ain't trying to remember the prison time. But I just tell investors, look, if you're gonna risk $250,000, you might as well just buy 8 or 9 more houses.
I'm just saying. Come on.
Right.
Now.
But you can do $250 and prison time, and then you won't be able to buy any more HUD homes. And basically, all they saying is, owner occupant, you have to intend to occupy the property for. No, it's actually 12 months.
That's it?
Yeah,
Oh.
but you could not have owned another HUD home for the previous 24 months. So
Okay,
that's
so
where
I
the
had it backwards.
2
All right.
years come from.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So as
Yeah.
a flipper, you know,
Yeah.
flippers,
Flippers
those,
can't do it, yeah.
Well, they did.
They did.
Okay, they did.
I
You
mean,
just had to wait 12 months
Okay.
before you can 366
one of my
days
first
before
flips
you
that I
can-
did, I bought one, but I did live in it.
Right.
It was probably the first house that my oldest boys were in.
Okay.
It was a cute little brick bungalow.
Okay.
Didn't need a whole lot.
Right.
Right.
I love that little house. I wish I still had
HUD
it.
used to be the SHIT. It did. It
Yeah.
used to be like a really good thing. But I don't know.
It's kind of good.
It's
No, it's still good.
Is it?
Think so?
Yeah, it's just that it's not as much inventory
Inventory.
because anytime you have a strong market,
But
people are not facing
the pricing
foreclosure.
right now for HUD properties are like what? So I
Yeah.
just looked
Yes.
at a Ypsilanti.
Yeah.
I mean, for people that are in Southeast Michigan, this is like I think a quad or bi-level
Right.
in Ypsilanti for like 315 or 50. It's on there right now, 1,000. And I'm looking at this piece of property in Ypsilanti, and I'm like. And then I got to go in here and put another 60 in it. So is this property worth $400,000?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
HUD, so
After repair?
HUD, Fannie Mae, the banks, none of them were ever really trying to give you a deal.
Right.
They was just listing the properties for market value.
Right.
So people think, oh, just because it's a HUD home or bank foreclosure, I'm automatically getting
Exactly.
a deal. The way HUD analyze their properties, most of them do an FHA appraisal first. That's how they determine if they're going to list this property and accept cash and FHA financing or cash and FHA 203K
Right.
financing based on the repairs. So that appraisal is going to be the value minus the estimated repairs. And then if it doesn't sell, they have a time frame as to when they start doing price reductions. And usually for most banks, it's 30 to 60 days. I think HUD is about 60 days right now.
But HUD will let them sit up there for a minute. I mean, like some of our best flips, I would buy as an investor.
Right.
But I will watch them, you know, see how long they sit. I think Artesia was a HUD deal.
I don't have anything to say about the flips, but I'll say
Well,
that.
you buy them as an investor. That's
I mean, okay,
If
yeah,
anything
right.
you purchase
Yeah,
as
you're
an
saying after the
investor,
15
yeah.
days, after the 16 days. So
All
what I mean
this.
by it used to be good, it used to be good deals.
Yes.
So they were, I mean, as some investors used to
Right.
make a lot of money off of HUD properties.
They were
Because
below
you
market.
were in the
They were
market.
Yeah.
way below market. It
Right.
was way
Because-
below market.
Right.
You know, I'm talking back in like 2006, 7, 8,
Yeah.
Because
9-ish.
you gotta put. So anytime the market is too imbalanced, you either have a extreme seller's market like we got now, or you have a buyer's market where everything's selling more at a discount. But the ideal market, like we were saying earlier, is that in between market. So instead of a home selling a week, now it's going to actually sit for 2 months. So now you start seeing the price reductions. Now you got investor and owner occupant competition for that property. So the longer it sits, the more chances you have of getting a deal. So with HUD, during that first bidding period, you bid and then you wait, and then they have an opening bid date.
For sure.
But then after that, it goes to daily, and you might bid. Say the house is 200, you might want to bid 190,
Exactly.
and then it don't get accepted. The next day you bid 190. You just keep bidding your price.
you-
They had a ratio
they
though
come back
that
a
they
lot
went
of
off
times.
of. It was a ratio that you could bid that you would get the property. I don't remember what it
No,
is.
that was a myth.
Yeah, that worked for me. So I
It
so I
probably
did
worked
this.
for you,
Yeah.
but each house is different.
Yeah.
That they had, because we used to try to figure it out when we were listing HUD properties, and we couldn't figure out why they would reduce this property by this amount versus another one. And they would order, sometime they'll order a BPO or another appraisal on the property to determine.
Sometimes what I would do too is I would submit my bid as an investor, and then they would reject it, and
Right.
then I would not put in another bid. But then they come back. It'll be 2-3 months later if the house still there, and they'll counter offer you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, you'll just look up one day and have an email like, you know, such and such property counter offer for,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, like this address.
Yeah.
because that's so HUD hires asset managers to list and manage all the properties and oversee them. And they'll look through the information and say, okay, this property isn't moving. So they'll start reaching out to you to see if you're still interested or counter. So before they didn't do that. Years ago, it was just like you submitted your offer, you won't hear anything. Because there was no, for one, the technology changed. So it's easier for them to see the data. And now they'll respond back to you.
Man.
So I
Or
mean,
even in a backup offer situation, like you'll submit an offer and you check that you want your offer held as a backup. If that other person don't submit their deposit in time and their documents,
Immediately.
they'll
Come to you.
immediately
Yeah.
come back to you as a
Yeah.
backup offer.
Yeah, I mean, I had, like I said, so as an investor,
Right.
HUD used to be good. I don't think they're as good anymore. I mean, I don't think it's it's not. It's like anything, you know, with the tax foreclosures or
Right.
the tax sale. None of that stuff is.
But that's just the market in general. I can't say
I
blame
agree.
it on HUD. Right.
Look, where you working for HUD or something? Look, I'm not.
I used
saying
to.
You're like, hold on, stop talking about HUD.
But, you know, it's like, don't sleep, because they do still have, like, amazing deals, especially for, like, you know, the clients who have, like, you know, some cash and you maybe a little bit of money for repairs, you know, so you may get a halfway habitable house. Maybe it was like an older person's house and it just
Right.
maybe needs a kitchen sink replaced or a new bathroom or something like that. Like, you know, you can still find your clients some really good deals with those properties.
Yeah, I mean, the last few, I stopped looking at them. I don't even look at their website anymore because the last few deals that I was looking at, they were outrageous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and then you gotta keep in mind it's still a bidding process.
It is,
So
absolutely.
just like the rest of the market, people bidding over on those too.
And
Did you see the railroad one that just came up like 3 weeks ago?
I haven't looked. I'm
You
like
haven't looked
Shaka.
either? Yeah. It was nice. It was one of them, you know, like that, over like Carroll Street, 8 Mile,
Oh yeah.
Greenfield.
Yep.
I mean, super cute.
The little
the
ranches.
ranch
Yep.
brick, but the nice
The long extended
big
ones,
ranches, yeah.
Where the basement's the exact length of the house. Yeah, I like those.
They
Look, I had
house.
somebody call me on that house. And I said, it's somebody, people think they can just, call you and they like, no, we don't share lock boxes. We don't have HUD key. I was like, I can schedule an appointment, and get you over there and let you in. And he's like, I think I still have HUD keys. I'm like, I just started laughing. I'm like, man, HUD keys no longer exist.
Right.
So when I started, HUD had one padlock key.
Literally.
Then-
They went to every.
Then they added another one. Then they end up, at the end, it was like 8 keys. Then they finally switched over to lock boxes and stuff. But I had all the keys.
I'm talking about just the one.
I got
you know
this
what I mean?
keychain. It has a blue key ring on it. It has an H, and it's like
Had
50
everything.
keys.
I used to have so all the banks and HUD, they all had like certain key codes, and I just had like a ring with all the bank keys on it. So anytime somebody lockbox or something like that, I would just use my bank keys. And sometimes we'd be out of town or something, I'd be like, oh, that's a bank for code. Let me see if, and they work.
It worked.
Yeah.
They was like,
That's funny.
dog. So I'm glad they changed that.
Yeah, they
I'm
did.
not.
Me too.
I used to. That made everything
Way easier.
I was an investor. I was walking around like I owned the shit. Like owned all the
That's how I feel because I was a kid back
Right.
then. It's like with my license, 21, 22, my
Yeah.
friends like, Jonnita got keys to everything.
Right. Yeah.
I enjoyed that time.
Yeah.
That was a great
That
time.
was a great time.
I hear you, but that was
Yeah.
a much better time
It was.
as an investor.
But that's what I was telling you.
Yeah,
Nostalgia.
it was.
Yeah.
I miss it.
What,
I miss it.
but Reg, what do you think? So we went through something. I mean, like it is quick fast. Like to me, it's not a whole lot to know other than they are put in place to look out for the
Right.
public, right?
Yep.
They offer programs.
Right.
I mean, I think it's very important for teachers and firefighters and officers and EMTs to know that they have an opportunity to own houses at a superb discount.
Nurses.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
I don't think nurses are. In
I
HUDs.
think they might be included. I'll have to double check.
Yeah.
It's on the website,
Oh,
on the
okay.
I did bring my laptop.
HUDHomestore.com website.
Yeah.
So, so what do you feel like we missed? Because I definitely don't want to be out here like Oreo with the hoodie,
No, I'm
Like-
saying it's a lot more, but it
Oh,
would be
yeah.
too much to cover. But I mean, it's a lot of information out there.
HUD is one of those things that I feel like we have to break down into like segments. But I think for
Right.
what we do here, educating the public on, like opportunities for home ownership.
Right. Yeah.
So people who should really be listening to this are the public. So like we just said, teachers, police officers, firefighters, EMT.
Really,
They
any
should
home
really
buyer,
start thinking.
right.
But they have special programs for them.
Right.
The other home buyers, everybody any homeowner, as long as you didn't
advantage
haven't
of it.
owned
Yeah.
a HUD within the last 24 months,
Right.
and you're buying it as a homeowner, can take advantage of that. But
Right.
there are certain programs that those fields they have special programs for them.
Right.
And then too, understanding that like if you find a
okay.
property that you like during the owner occupant bidding phase, you've not got a lot of people who have a lot of buying power during that 15 days. So if a
Yeah.
person really, wants the house or needs the house,
Right.
they don't have to compete with
Right.
As much
as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
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 with the investors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the thing too, people gotta understand with that 50% off discount, so you still have to qualify for the full amount. So if the house is $150,000, you still have to qualify for $150,000. The discount is given at closing. So at closing, you're gonna see a credit of $75,000. That makes sense. So, and most people don't know that. They're like, "Oh, I qualify for
They
75."
think it's a charity motor.
No, it don't.
yeah,
It don't work like that.
What's
right.
charity motor, Shaka?
Same thing. They do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the
You
flip
take your
cards
wig,
too.
you take your wig, your EBT
Yeah.
card up there.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get that 50%
Mother
off.
Waddles.
Yes.
all
Yes,
Yeah.
Mother Wa- yes.
Yeah.
them. All them. I was at all the auctions.
Right.